A Haitian Story of Hope, Selavi by Youme. Not so long ago and not so far away, people with guns could take a family, burn a house, and disappear, leaving a small child alone in the world. This child went north and south, east and west. Here and there he found something to eat and a place to sleep, but not a family and not a home. In the capital city of his country, the streets were crowded with overloaded buses, cars with darkened windows, and more people with guns. Angry faces shouted, "Move on and go home!" But the child was too tired to keep going. He sat on the curb with his head in his hands. Suddenly, a hand was on his shoulder. Was it a man with a gun? No, it was a boy his own age saying, "My name is Tifre. Have some plantains. What is your name? Where are you from?" The child ate hungrily, but didn't answer. "You can name yourself," Tifre said. "Like my name means little brother. We could call you Hungry, Sleepy, or Little Traveler." "I am all of those things," the child said, "and that's life." From then on, they called him Selavi. Tifre brought Selavi to the place where he lived, a banyan tree near a market square which emptied out in the evening. As the sun went down, child after child came home with something to share. Gentil, braiding Toussaint's hair, said, "I have some avocados for everyone." They gave them to me for working at the restaurant. Toussaint called out, "Mangoes for one and all. I was at the docks today." Yvette and Esprit introduced themselves. "Help yourself to drinking water," Yvette offered. Esprit smiled at Selavi. "And this is Mirror," said Tifre, pointing to a child taking apart a broken radio. He then placed fried plantains wrapped in a brown paper bag on a makeshift table. "We each bring back what we get during the day, and we all end up with more." That night they had enough to eat, a place to rest, and the comfort of each other. As they settled down to sleep, Selavi told of the men with guns and his long run through the countryside. Then the others told their stories too. Gentil. My family left our village on an old ferry boat. I ran ashore to get one last thing, and when I returned, the boat had fallen apart. I lost everybody. I was 8 years old. Toussaint. Man, I was 9, and our house had 3 brothers, 2 sisters, 4 cousins, a grandpa, an uncle, 2 aunties, my mammy, and papa. It seemed like one dry bean for all of us, so I said, "This is more than one house can hold." I go back sometimes to make sure they are as okay as can be. Esprit and Yvette. We were sleeping when our parents woke us and told us to hide, so we hid together in an empty oil drum. There was a lot of shouting, and then silence. When we came out, there was no one. A family took us in to work for them, but they didn't care for us. Tifre. My mother moved us to the city where we knew no one. When she couldn't find a house, she made one from things she found. She got very sick and died. Soon after, my brother died too. I was too sad to cry right away. The next morning, and many mornings that followed, the children rose early to look for work, washing cars, carrying water, cleaning clothes, asking people for money or food, and searching for useful metal or scraps that others had thrown away. But then, one day, a man in a uniform pushed Selavi roughly. "All of you street children are dirty thieves," he said. Selavi was frightened. He ran back to the children's home beneath the banyan tree. There were more angry faces there. One of them said, "We have chased away your friends. If we ever see you again, we will arrest you." Selavi ran down a side street and into a church. There he saw many families. Some of them seemed kind, but others were frowning because he had interrupted them. A man was speaking to the people. "Alone," he said, "we may be a single drop of water, but together we can be a mighty river. We must help each other to become strong." Selavi called out, "I need help." Faces turned towards him. Selavi told them about his friends and the men who had threatened him. An older woman said, "You are safe here." A couple stood. "Come live with us and be our son." "Thank you very much," said Selavi, "but what about my brothers and sisters in the street?" The people talked to each other. "We can be the mighty river," they decided. They agreed to build a house where the street children who looked out for one another could live. It would be a place to sleep in safety, to eat well, and even to go to school. It would be a home for Selavi and his family. The people called on everybody they knew to help build the house. Some came with food and songs, others brought construction materials. When it was finally done, everyone continued to work together, making food, washing clothes, teaching, and learning. In the evenings, they played soccer, told stories, and listened to the radio. The family grew. Is this the end? No. Even though they had a home, there was still trouble. Work was hard to find, and food was sometimes scarce. Selavi and his family knew there were still other children who needed help. How could the river reach more people? They painted bright murals to let people know that they all needed help. This one says, "If children are sleeping in the streets, what are we doing for them?" But the murals were painted out, and worse, some stood by and did nothing, as others set fire to the building that had been a home for Selavi's new family. Is this the end? No. The children were homeless again. Yes, everything they had worked so hard to make had been destroyed. Maybe someone had tried to dry up the mighty river, but that could not be done. We still have each other. Let's rebuild our home. And we still have our voices. Let's start a radio station. Everyone knew of something to contribute. The house was rebuilt. Some found wires and abandoned equipment to repair, tape recorders and cassettes. Others worked to get a small transmitter. Those who could read and write wrote stories and news reports. Some made songs telling of their experiences. And some built a tower to broadcast their voices to the whole country. We will write our messages in the air where they cannot be painted out. Even today they are being heard. They continue to struggle, but they know they are part of a mighty river. And now, so are you. And that is life. All children need a neighbor or a friend who will keep an eye on them.